If you know why this is one of the scariest photos ever taken, congratulations, you're just as mental as I am. This is the story of John Lennon's murder 45 years ago. I'm Mel Z. I talk about death, true crime, and weird pop culture stuff, so if you're a weirdo too, follow me. John Lennon had just turned 40. He was living in New York City with his wife Yoko and their son Sean. He was back in the studio for the first time in 5 years and was happy. On the morning of December 8th, 1980, John and Yoko had breakfast at their favorite cafe. He went and got a haircut. They listened to some of Yoko's new music. They did a radio interview. John did some recording. He basically had the busiest day I've ever heard of, because also they had a photo shoot with Annie Leibovitz, and one of the most iconic photos of all time was taken on this day. Mark David Chapman, a former Beatles fan who had become disillusioned with John Lennon for preaching anti-materialism while being rich and famous, had traveled to New York City to kill John Lennon, something that he'd been planning to do for years. He had become obsessed with the book Catcher in the Rye, whose main character, Holden Caulfield, hates phonies. He used it as inspiration for this murder. At one point in the afternoon, John and Yoko left their apartment, and Mark David Chapman, who had been waiting for days to see him, couldn't quite build up the nerve to shoot him. So instead, he handed him his copy of John and Yoko's album Double Fantasy to sign. And this is a photo of John Lennon signing his Killer's album. It is honestly just one of the most chilling photos I've ever seen. Later in the evening, Mark David Chapman waited for John and Yoko, who arrived around 11 p.m. And as they walked by him, he shot John Lennon. 4 of the hollow point bullets hit him. John Lennon stumbled into the building and collapsed. The news shocked the world. One of the biggest pop stars was now dead, and not just dead, murdered. Mark David Chapman did many strange things leading up to this, including other encounters with celebrities. I have a full deep dive on YouTube and Spotify. I also talk about what doctors said after the fact, what Yoko's reaction was, and other strange coincidences. This is a devastating story. It is one of the saddest in rock history. Tell me in the comments, what were you doing when you found out that John Lennon was shot? And if you weren't alive, what's your favorite John Lennon song? There are so many incredible ones.